Hey guys, how's it going? I thought I'd do something a little different today, and that is let you hear the sound of my voice and share something that's been on my mind. You see that bus there? I could take it, but I'm making a choice today, a conscious decision to walk home today. I know the way home. It's not like I haven't done this before. Normally, I like to listen to music on the way back. I am a dancer, so can't really have dance without music. Usually, not saying it can't be done. So what did I want to share? Well, truth be told, oh look at that, dead butterfly. I'll probably cut that part out. So what did I want to share? Truth be told, kind of had a pretty shitty day at work yesterday. What exactly happened? Well, I won't go into specifics, but basically what happened is I got a severe case of imposter syndrome. So what is imposter syndrome? Basically, you get a job or internship or some position in a club, whatever it may be, and what ends up happening is you feel like, let's try change. That actually looks way better. You get this position and you feel like you do not deserve it in the least. Yeah, it'd be good to invest in a selfie stick actually. No, but yeah, I'll share the journey with you, by the way. I'm learning as I go when it comes to filmmaking. But imposter syndrome, you get some position of higher responsibility than you're used to, and you feel you really don't deserve it at all. But once you're in that position, you're afraid to let people know that you don't think you're qualified. And maybe you really are, maybe you really aren't, but the point is that fear is there, that you don't want to share the fact that you don't seem qualified because you fear that you'll be perceived as having a massive lack of confidence. And when I say yesterday I had a case of imposter syndrome, the reality is this sort of thing takes usually from a few days to, in my case, a few weeks to build up. I think about over a month for me. I didn't really let my supervisor know that I wasn't as qualified as she thought I was. And it all came to a head yesterday where she realized the coding project, I do hard coding for this internship I'm at here at Argonne National Laboratory. Hopefully nothing too confidential is being shown. I'm just walking around, speaking from the heart here, giving my thoughts. But, she saw that she literally looked at my work, stared right at the computer screen, and said to my face, I have a hard time believing you spent 40 hours last week working on this shit. And she didn't say the word shit, but, she might as well have. And truth be told, I actually wasn't upset. I mean, I was pretty anxious at the time, but, I wasn't mad at her for saying I'd done a shitty job, because I knew I did a shitty job. I owned that part at least, but I also knew for a while I sucked at programming, mainly because I hated it. Truth be told, I hated it a lot. There's that bus again. Again, the sign of personal freedom. But I knew for a long time, I even made my peace with the fact that I didn't want a programming job. As lucrative as a job it might be, I knew that it wasn't for me and that's it. I'm not motivated really that much by money. I'm motivated by living a life that I want to enjoy. A life of fun and fulfillment. Money is just a plus. And I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but the point is imposter syndrome. It happened to me, and truth be told, it could happen to any one of us. And it's not just imposter syndrome that is the problem. It's one piece of a much larger issue in the human psyche today, possibly since the dawn of human existence. And that is that we all have so much more pride and arrogance than we think we do. The lens is right there. Can't believe I haven't been looking at that this whole time. Apologies for that. Again, still learning. But we are much more arrogant than we think we are. And the important thing to note, I think, and this is something I really took a long time to dwell on yesterday up till today, in the aftermath of the disaster that was yesterday's meeting with my supervisor, is that it's okay to let your pride consume you for a little bit. It's okay to make that mistake. A wise person once told me that mistakes make the world go round. Honestly, it's really that simple. Why do they make the world go round? It's because you, as a human being, have the time to take the time to learn from those mistakes. So I took the time to dwell on the fact that, I did let pride get a hold of me. And I'm normally a very self-aware kind of guy. But when it came to this one particular instance, I couldn't help but let my ego take over. And you hear from a bunch of spiritual leaders or thought leaders in the community that ego is this bad thing. Ego isn't a bad thing to have. In fact, you need it if you're going to be living in this world. You need it to sell yourself to employers. You need it to be an entrepreneur, to sell yourself to your friends, even if you're not into all those other things. Ego isn't bad. The idea is identifying with it way too much. You can't identify with your ego that much. It should instead just be this tool for you to use. When you identify with your ego, that's when it becomes arrogance. And you might be thinking, well, who's this guy who let his ego get control of him? How is he qualified to preach all this? I never said I was perfect. The point is, I can at least say that I've been through this. I've let my ego take control of me, and I've seen where it takes me. And I hope that anybody watching this video doesn't fall into the same trap that is that dark corner of your head. The ego that you need, but also convinces you that you need it more than you really do. And again, you need it to live in this world. But starting to identify with it, that's where arrogance comes into play. Pride and arrogance and all these things that can lead you down very negative paths. And I hope anybody watching this, listening to this monologue that I spontaneously decided to record for you guys today, I challenge you to go a full day being self-aware of the ego within. So now if you're probably wondering, well, how the heck do I identify my ego? That sounds like a pretty abstract concept. You see, the human body is made up of three things: the body, the mind, and the intellect. Mind and intellect are both, society tends to call both of those things the mind, but you can kind of separate both into, the mind is kind of the emotional part of your head, and the intellect is the logical part of your head. So body, mind, and intellect. The body perceives objects. So like my eyes are part of my physical body, I perceive that Mini Cooper right there. My mind feels emotion. I feel pretty happy right now. And that's saying something because, normally most people don't feel that happy. But aside from that, my mind is feeling an emotion, happiness. Emotion being happiness, mind being what is feeling that. Intellect thinks thoughts. My intellect is thinking of the next word that I'm going to tell you. If we take a simple example concretely, again, my body, my eye being a part of my body, perceives that Volkswagen Golf right here. My eye perceives this phone. There's a middle step in there. The perceiver. The body perceived an object. Without the perceiver, which is your ego, by the way, spoiler alert, there's just my eye and there's the car. There's no processing of information. There's no registering of how does that car make me feel. There's no thought of how much gas mileage does that car get. You see, my body perceived an object, and then my mind proceeded to feel an emotion about it, and my intellect proceeded to think a thought about it. The perceiver, feeler, and thinker, that in-between step, that in-between is your ego. And I challenge you to be aware of that for a full day. Don't do anything to prevent it from making you do what you do in your life. There's a difference between acting on something and just being aware of something. Remember that. I challenge you to be aware of the perceiver, feeler, and thinker. Be aware of that ego. for a full day. And if you want to start even smaller, just be aware of it for the next hour. But the point is, this is an awareness exercise, an exercise in self-awareness. You know, people talk all the time about being self-aware. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to you unless you have a concrete construct in your head to focus on. And I just gave you that. So focus on the perceiver, feeler, and thinker. That ego within you. You need it to live in this world. But the more you can be aware of it, the more likely you are to prevent yourself from doing what I did. Having imposter syndrome. Letting my ego take control of me and turning into arrogance. It's not temporary, but the results can be permanent. So that's really all I had to share right now. Just thought I'd make a quick video, let you hear my voice. And that is it. I will see you in the next video.